Good afternoon, everyone.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Hey, Scott.
Good afternoon.
Well, Mayor Furlong.
Welcome, Councilmember Wong. Scott, is the HRA meeting, is that on this same Zoom call?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so after the meeting, we'll just go into the HRA then, all right?
Correct.
Got it. Let me just get things here.
Hey, Scott,
Yes.
it looks like, do you have to unmute the video? Because I can't get my picture up, or
No.
I'll try it again.
Candy.
Hi there, Lisa. Let me
Hi.
see.
Does
Start
it say
video?
you cannot start your video because the host has stopped
Yeah.
it?
Correct.
I see the same.
But you got a nice picture up. I have just like an alien.
I have a tea.
And you got a T, that's good.
Yeah, Scott, it says that we can't start a video because the host has stopped it.
Yeah, that's what they're saying.
I got the same thing.
Well, can we have the meeting anyway, or do we have to have video? I mean, I'm on a device where the video doesn't work anyway, so.
Yeah, but you got a pretty picture, Scott.
Yeah.
That's an old one. That
The
was
non-bearded picture, yeah.
Council Run #1. But that one I think is from 2013. So yeah, wow, that's going on 8 years old already. Holy cow.
You're like 17 then, weren't you?
I think I was still in my 20s. Yeah.
Ah,
You clean up good though.
Did we ever get confirmation on what the youngest council member ever elected to the city? Well, because I guess I'm not sure how old Lisa is, but she might have been the youngest now.
huh. It's a good question.
We'd have to ask the Historical Society. I'm sure they probably know.
Do you have any other options on your to turn on your video?
Oh, Lisa's on. There we go.
Amazon. All
Danny's
right.
on, Carrie's on. Jenny's on. All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Jenny, you take the roll?
Councilmember Thorson,
Here,
Councilmember Peterson,
Here,
Councilmember Cole,
Here.
Councilmember Wong,
Here.
Mayor Furlong.
Here. We do have a motion to adopt the agenda,
so moved, Your Honor.
moved by Councilmember Peterson.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Wong. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Jenny, if you take the roll.
Councilmember Thorson,
I
Councilmember Peterson,
Aye.
Councilmember Cole,
Aye.
Councilmember Wong,
Hi.
Aye. Agenda is adopted. At this time, looks like we have a few topics, and I'll turn over to City Manager Dudek.
Mayor, Council, thank you. Our first item for this evening is our budget calendar that want to talk about that and adopting that. And I've got our finance director will go through that, kind of the layout that we've put together. And then following that, just kind of a pre-up to that, is a open gov presentation that Jason will also do on the product that he's been working on. And we're getting close to being able to put that out on our website. It's a very in-depth program that you've seen some parts of it before, and they're continuing to develop that. So I'll turn it over to our finance director to go through the budget calendar first.
Welcome, Jason. Happy New Year, 2021.
Thank you, Mayor. Back at you. The same to you and the council as well.
Start the budget
so-
process tonight.
Yeah, so I know it feels like we just concluded with the 2021 budget. Kind of following up on that and some of the commentary that during the budget process, I thought it would be useful for us to get together this evening and kind of discuss the budget process, timeline, expectations, and dates to hit, what staff will be doing during the timeline, and how we'll get there. So, Mayor, if you're all right, I'll present my screen and we'll just kind of go through the items real quickly, if that's all right.
Yep, go ahead.
All right. So hopefully everybody can see the start of the calendar there. So for the new council members, and I know the mayor will comment on this, when we're in this presentation mode, I know it's difficult for the mayor to see the individual members of council. So I'm assuming, Mayor, if they have commentary, just to jump in.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So I kind of worked backwards forward to set the dates, but as we discussed this, so but we'll start in April, and essentially what I thought to do was the real goal was effectively to get council input in the process. I feel like as we've gone through this, often council's in a position to say no and to take things away rather than to say, let's look at adding, changing, modifying upfront. So getting real clear direction to bring forward to staff on how to prepare the budget and expectations. I think to do that early will be beneficial and more productive. So essentially what we're looking for at the beginning of April is department heads to provide input on business as usual. So in order to continue to operate as we did the prior year, are there any significant changes that we need to be aware of? Legislative changes, staffing changes, anything that's necessary to continue that business as normal. So we'll give them a week essentially to get that information back. And then with that, we're also going to start to prepare a 5-year capital and equipment replacement plan. So that's kind of being done on the side as our normal operating budget. So we'll start that process in April, meeting with departments, going through that to really formalize and document that capital and equipment replacement plan. And I can talk about more of that in a moment. But the big target date is this May 18th, 2021. And what I'll call that is essentially goal setting or target setting from a council perspective. So what we're going to do is take that input from department heads about any significant material changes, document those, have those prepared. And then essentially we're going to take kind of a high level estimation at some contractual operating supply changes. So 1%, 2%, 3%. Finance will look at those trends and histories and try and incorporate some of those baseline changes into the budget. So we'll take that along with the personnel changes. That's one nice thing in OpenGov. They have an incredibly robust personnel budgeting tool. And I know the city manager has seen it as well, that I think will really aid in us preparing a budget. Obviously, at that point, I don't think we'll have union contracts settled. 2021 is the last year of the 3-year contracts with each one of the union groups. So I'm not exactly sure what we'll have prepared for May 18th, because again, we won't have those agreements in hand. But again, we'll work with the city manager to kind of come up with some estimation of where we think we'll come in from COLAs and steps and all that with the personnel as well. So again, that May 18th date will kind of bring the baseline information to council, and then hopefully have that goal setting meeting to receive feedback, right? Whether it's to look at adding services, changing services, different projects, things that council would like to see incorporated in the potential budget. So with that information, we'll bring that back. And then at that point, at this May 21st date, we'll take the information from council and what we've incorporated and give that to the department heads to say, based off the input from council and what we know, incorporate and create a budget based off of the feedback that's been provided.
Jason, can I stop you real quick here?
Yes, Mayor.
So the May 18th, the council, I'm looking at doing a retreat sometime in February, hopefully early February. And I'm assuming then, Jason, at that time, we could talk about certain things that the council is looking for, for this budget cycle, and that would be a good time to present that at the May 18th. So if we have maybe 2 retreats or 1 retreat, we'll talk about that. But I think it's important that we do have a retreat for the council, and it's good to have that date so we know that we have that. So that's it.
Sure. Yep. Thanks, Mayor. So just on to the next page, it's more somewhat internal timelines, and I'll get back to the CIP information here in a moment. But so we give the department heads about 3 weeks to work on budgets, get them back to finance, gives finance and the city manager to work with those department heads for a few weeks to take that information, scrub it down. Right, there might be changes or assumptions that need to be made in the interim, right? We're trying to get in front of this, so there may be some input that department heads have that we may not have anticipated, or different things that may have changed throughout the summer. And then at this July 27th date, we want to get the budget information out to the council at that time, and that's a week before the August 3rd meeting. So August 3rd, we're looking then to take all the information from council, department head, staff, city manager, incorporate it, bring it forward to council on August 3rd, but get it out a week ahead of time. Receive feedback, commentary, take the information back, work with the city manager, work with department heads, bring it back on August 17th for any changes that need to be made or requests for modification. Then come back on September 7th and set the preliminary budget. Oh,
I have a question. August 3rd, won't that be National Night Out, Scott Dudek? Did you hear me?
Yeah, I think he's looking.
Yeah, I'm gonna look and let you verify it. Go ahead.
Okay, just checking. Thank you.
thank you, Councilmember Peterson. That's a good comment, good catch. And then moving on, so September 7th, so always looking at, and we can talk to the new council members about the timeline of when state statute requires the preliminary levy and final levy. Scott,
And that is correct. That is the first Tuesday of August, so that is National Night Out.
It's August 3rd or August 17th?
August 3rd.
we can look at making some amendment then to the calendar to accommodate that deadline or that date, excuse me. So September 7th, right, as September 30th requirement for the proposed levy to be set with the county. We'd look at the first council meeting in September to have that meeting and adopt the proposed levy. Again, in case there's any changes, something happens that's significant, we can always push that meeting out to the second meeting in September if needed. Then mid-November is when the truth and taxation notices are sent out to property owners. During that time between September 7th and December 7th, there's also opportunity for meeting and discussion if the levy needs to be adjusted or modified. And then at that December 7th meeting, which is the first council meeting in December, we look to set the levy for 2022. So that essentially is kind of the timeline. Again, I kind of worked backwards forward to that date in April to begin, but kind of looking for mayor and council feedback about this process and trying to get more engagement from the mayor and council up front rather than starting on a budget and having feedback and back and forth as we've done in the past.
Jason, I like the timeline. I like how it's laid out. I think it gives us, deadlines. It gives us direction. I think it's going to help you. I think it's going to help staff to have that in place. I don't think we've had that in the past, where it's laid out that specific. Last year, I think was an unprecedented year that, there was a lot of different things going on with the COVID and how the budget process was, and numbers were coming in late, and it's just a very, very difficult year for the planning of the budget. So I like the layout. If we can follow that, I think it'd be very beneficial for not only you but Scott and the council. Councilman, go ahead.
The other piece of this, to really get feedback from the council up front, so we're not developing a budget that's doesn't have meaning or doesn't have the direction that we should be getting right away up front.
Council member, any comment?
No, I like it too. I think that's a good plan, good strategy, Jason, and it'll just make things smoother and hopefully it'll, we did have a lot of challenges, with layoffs and whatever, and I'm not foreseeing any of that, but I'm happy about this, so thank you.
Any other council member comments? If not, thank you, Jason. I look forward to working with staff and you and in the council and I think a lot of this has to do, like Scott said, a lot of it has to do with our input and giving you direction early on than later. So hopefully there's no surprises. So,
We'll look at adjusting that August 3rd date, but otherwise, if everybody's in principle agree with this is what we'll follow.
yeah, it looks like that August 3rd is kind of a dual. August 3rd and August 17th are kind of the same thing. So, maybe we can kind of
Yeah.
combine the 2 to 1 or have a little longer meeting on the 17th or something. So,
But
Councilmember Thorson.
I'm just assuming then that, these dates where there's council discussion, it's going to be a budget workshop like before the council meeting. Is that correct?
Correct?
Unless there's one highlighted specifically for its own standalone day, kind of like what we've been doing since we started having those off council week workshops. And I guess the point I'm trying to make is, sometimes we have these workshops and, ahead of time, there's, to my knowledge, been no other council input. So I'd imagine at some level, it's the mayor and the city manager or staff kind of getting these things in. And at time to time, if things come up, council can request that things get put on a workshop or whatever into the future. But my concern is that, a lot of times these budget discussions, we're up against a hard hour and 20-minute discussion and we can't get through it. And if there's other items on the budget or on the workshop, not budget related, then we either have to push them back or we have those conversations first. And then that additionally takes away time from the budget discussion. And it just seems like the conversation is rushed. And a perfect example of that is the last budget kind of workshop type meeting we had in relation to the enterprise or all the fund balances within the enterprise fund, and then like the rates and fees schedule. I mean, typically we break those out and have discussions about that throughout the summer, but this year for various reasons or whatever, that was just done at the last budget workshop of the year when that got approved. And we have quite a few fund balances and all those other rates and fees that we just kind of ripped through and had very limited discussion on. So I guess I'm glad to see this budget calendar laid out this way, and hopefully that never happens again. But that's my only comment and concern, that I hope that when we have these, and there's quite a few of them, that's the main focus. And if it takes having additional workshop meetings, so be it. But we also don't want to have these other things that we typically address and talk about in workshops get put off and ignored. So just, there's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, and what we could do to make sure that we have the time for budget discussion, that these are specifically budget workshops, that if we have other items come up, we could look at adjusting this time to an off Tuesday or whatever the council's wish is. We were trying to keep it, to the Tuesdays that you're used to. But definitely if we need to adjust on an off Tuesday to give adequate time for that, we can do that.
I believe we lost the mayor.
Did
Yes. Scott, maybe real quick, I'm not sure if he's trying to get back in the room, but I'll just make one additional comment. I know I mentioned in there about preparing a CIP or a capital improvement plan and equipment replacement plan. And we've got those, I'd say, they're completed, but not in a real formal long-term document that we have prepared to share. So I think that doing that and having that prepared will help a lot. And I think that's more conversation can be around those items, that those are essentially our blips kind of in our budget, that a lot of the operating budget items hopefully will be really consistent year to year. Obviously there's going to be some changes that the council may have, or statutory things that may change, but the equipment replacement and the capital improvement plan, right, whether it's street reconstruction or buying a dump truck, those items are really the abnormalities in our budget. So ensuring we have those financed appropriately and have conversations about when those items will occur. I think that potentially that may be more of the conversation than the operating budgets, over time. So that's one of the things I've spoken with the city manager about as well. So as that evolves and plays out, we'll just see where those conversations go.
Yeah, and the maintenance overlay too, that I think we need to
Right.
dedicate specific discussion of, because that it's budgetary, because it's how we're going to pay for that. And we've been putting money aside into that street improvement fund, I believe is what it's called.
Yep.
But, there are a lot of streets that are in parking areas and whatnot that are in need of immediate attention, that in the last capital improvement plan, they weren't slated to get touched until the 2030s. So that's one thing too, we should probably have discussion on sooner than later, as we move into winter, into spring, where we're going to have to start in on that stuff.
Correct. Okay,
I apologize. I got kicked off. I don't know how I got kicked off. First time ever. So Scott, I did miss some of your discussion there. So I'm sure I'll be filled in later. So.
Well, that's the beauty of these meetings being recorded. You can just go back and rewatch it.
Yep. All right.
all right, that's all on that. If there's anything else on the calendar, otherwise I'll have our finance director continue on with the OpenGov long-term debt reporting program.
Okay, Jason, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. So as we've demonstrated some of the capabilities of the product with some of the other reporting we've done with cash and investments and the different, the street reconstruction projects and the TIF projects that the city has ongoing, we keep looking for opportunities to use the tool and show off its power. So again, we're still in the infancy stages with the product. Again, this is part of a global, large scale implementation project with our actual core financials, utility billing, accounts payable, all get converted over to the OpenGov platform. At that time, it'll make making graphs and charts a lot easier with direct integration to the databases. At this point, we're looking for ways to leverage the tool with financial information that isn't necessarily inherently stored in our financial system. So looking for ways to add value. We have the tool to bring it forward. So the next set of, the next story, as OpenGov calls it, is regarding our debt. So again, a big piece of our financial puzzle as far as the levy goes. So I thought I'd bring this forward and I guess you just show some more of the capabilities of the tools and some information for council and constituents. So I'll share my screen quick and just kind of run through this. And if there's feedback or questions, I can definitely address those things. But on your own, you should have the opportunity as well to click around and dig into graphs and charts and find out all kinds of good information. So with that, I am sharing my screen. Hopefully everyone can see that as well. So to try and keep things clean, we have kind of an introduction. Then we have project pages for each piece of outstanding debt that the city has as of 2020. There's one piece that's now expired that's a TIF bond, but each piece there, and I can get into that. We have some quick links with our bond ratings, purposes of issuing bonds, how they're the security mechanisms for how they're financed, some legal debt margins and things like that, some different tables that we're required to produce. And then I put kind of 4 quick high-level charts that I think are powerful information for council, staff, community members to see. So the first one is just the annual debt levy by issuance. And I put this first because I think that this is usually one of the bigger pieces of our levy puzzle, and to see what that looks like and how that plays into different programming and financing opportunities with other projects that are out there for conversation. So with the tool, it's pretty easy. You can hover over the individual lines and see the dollar amounts associated with in this situation with the bond issuance. But if you click into the tool, it'll load, hopefully. And at that point, you can really pull information around, look at different things, filter different ways. So here's the visualization. You can change the visualization different ways if you'd like. And then down at the bottom, there's a summary, and then there's a details as well. So you can go ahead and filter different things by year, by dollar amounts, look at information. And then at this point, when you're at this view, if you hover over an item, it'll tell you the total. I know that's one comment I've received is on that main page, which I'll go back to. If you hover over it, it doesn't tell you a total. So you're guessing, is this 1.6? Is it 1.7 million? What's the total of this? It's hard to tell. So if you click in, you drill through, and you can look at a specific year and see for 2022, it's 1.61 million. So again, this is the levy only. So if we go down and look, then we have the total debt service. So again, this is funded by utilities, levy, and with tax increment financing as well. So that information's here. Then by funding source, like I said, so you can see by utility revenues, by tax levy, or by tax increment. And then this is the remaining debt as well. So this is a cumulative total. So as of 2020, here's the amount to pay down to 2021. So this is the total debt by each one of those. And then the annual principal and interest payment. So you can see here, $730,000 of interest in 2020, 2.74 million of principal. So you can see what it actually costs to finance these projects. So again, same thing. If you click in, you can slice and dice. You can filter things different ways and really take that information and look at different ways to analyze it. So we've got that, and then also I'll just point out with the project pages. I'll go to the 2018 because it's got some different funding sources. So brief description of what the project is, how it's financed. It's got in this here, it's got the debt service of interest to principal breakdown. It's got how it's funded with utility revenues, special assessments, debt levy, and then the levy requirements. And I'll point out too, state statute requires that we over levy by 5%. And that's why those numbers will never match up to account for petitions or delinquencies. So it's a statutory requirement that we do that. So that information is somewhat similar on all those project pages. But again, I encourage anyone, whether it's staff, council, constituents, to look around, see that information. And then also, I'll click on here. I know there's links that for the new council members, anything that's underlined is a direct link. So, we can look, if you want to look at the S&P rating, it's embedded within there. So tried to be really comprehensive. Again, I think this is a really good tool to present this information. This will be part of our budget conversations. We'll have this information, be able to bring it forward. And then, as that expires or is paid off or new debt's issued, we can layer that information on here, and it's a sustainable tool to kind of grow and change as the city changes as well.
So how often is it updated? Is it updated all the time, or is it?
Yeah, Mayor. So Yeah, I mean, this isn't directly integrated into any chart of accounts or financial database. So essentially we have flat Excel files that we load into to this tool then to manipulate. So we'll essentially go through and filter out, as the years go on, we'll change the filters to show 2021 or 2022. But as far as when new information comes on, if a new piece of debt's issued, we'll go ahead and make a project page for that debt issuance and add that information onto the other charts as well.
Good.
So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Mayor. I'm not sure if you or council members have any questions or feedback.
Well, Jason, I think, this is something that we've been working up towards, and we're getting closer and closer to getting kind of what we were asking for a couple of years ago. And I know in our finance meeting that I'm trying to think of her name.
Lynn.
Lynn. Yeah, she saw this and she just was astonished how we could put that out, and pretty excited about it. There's not a whole lot of cities that have this information out to their constituents. So pretty excited. Thank you, Jason. You worked hard on it, I know. So thank you. Council member, any feedback for Jason?
Yeah, I'll chime in quick. Just this is, I think this is amazing that we've gotten to this point, and I just hope and pray that this continues to move this way into the future, and that 2-3 years from now, if there's more changeover on the council, that this is something that just gets stopped being utilized or put to bed would be horrible, because this is such a great movement towards transparency and openness in everything we do. It's kind of a central location where people can go to find information outside of essentially attending every council meeting and taking notes and all the budget meetings like we're expected to do. A lot of people can't do that. This gives them that central location to go, and if they have the time to click around and dig into stuff, and hopefully this will result in more people getting involved and us getting more feedback. Every year we have a truth and taxation meeting, and I don't know when's the last time someone attended that and made a comment. I don't know. There wasn't anyone this year. But hopefully that's what comes from this, is it's utilized by the council, it's utilized by staff and the general public, and it leads to better decision-making in the future. So thank you to our finance director for getting this moving forward and bringing it under our radar. And I'm glad that the council adopted that, and hope that we continue to utilize this long into the future. And also too, I think it's important to note that a part of this OpenGov, there's more aspects, correct? Not just finance related. There's other aspects that we're going to integrate with city.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay.
Yeah, OpenGov is a new platform that, where it has, we have a city services side of it. There's the budget finance side of it that's being all put together. And I think all of this, just as we move to the web-based online platform, is going to allow us to provide much more openness and user-friendly services and information throughout all categories. It's been so quickly received, and as these programs are being rolled out, the licensing, just as that was rolled out, we had people taking to it, or the park reservations taking to it immediately. Concern about a learning curve or anything like that, people have taken to it immediately as soon as it was put out there, within a matter of hours, not days. So far it's been really well received.
If we can get if Carrie, if you can jump on real quick and maybe talk about the OpenGov and the issues you have with it, the bugs, and Jason, working with him and getting all this onto the website is a task. So I'd like to hear from you, and because you're kind of putting it in the system.
Yeah. Jason gives me no bugs. The only bugs we've had, OpenGov on the permits and licensing side is still a relatively new product to them. So even though we might be tiny little North St. Paul, we've uncovered some bugs in their system. I have to say they have worked more than diligently to get those fixed for us. Like Scott said, we brought city licensing up December 7th. We brought up the utility rebates last week, and within a matter of a few hours, we had applications coming through. We moved the city trash and recycling new utility setup to OpenGov last week. City e-news went out Wednesday afternoon. By dinner time Wednesday, we had residents logging in and switching their recycling size. We're working on permits. Our goal is to have all the permits up February 1st. Right now, we are the way the valuation tables are for building permits and plumbing permits. There is a little bug. We're working with the developers at OpenGov to get that fixed. So really, once we get this programming issue on the valuations fixed, we're gonna be ready to bring all the permits up here live in the next week.
Now, Carrie, you see all the analytics. Are people coming to our website more and more?
Yes. And the thing I'm most excited about, I was talking to Scott about this earlier today. Right now, the city website's got just a million PDFs for every little application and permit and stuff. And I can't wait to get all that stuff off there. When we brought up licensing, I went in and archived and deleted all those old PDF files. And now it is so easy for people to find, search what they're looking for, create their OpenGov account, and complete their licenses. We've got licenses coming in daily. So I can't hardly wait because there's a whole lot of content on the website for permits. I can't wait till we can get OpenGov up so I can go back in then and clean up all that old content, get all that stuff off, and then flow the residents through OpenGov. There will certainly have some prompts on our website that will direct them to the tool. We're not quite ready, in my opinion, to bring up the full kind of module OpenGov thing because there's still so many parts that are in development. So right now we're kind of integrating it into our site with some prompts to help residents and our contractors, set up their accounts and get started. But, when we rolled it out to just the residents last week on the garbage and recycling, they took to it right away. So there's some cleanup that has to get done. There's some house cleaning that happens as you start rebuilding all these forms. But we're so close. We're so close.
Good. Thank you for all your time and effort on this. I know you've had deadlines and had to work through them, and you got them up and running. So
hey, if I learned anything after all my years being a journalism major, you never miss a deadline, no matter what.
But Mayor and Council, I will say that Carrie's about OpenGov and working with this, and the deadlines are there. Carrie pushes hard, and Carrie ends up setting deadlines for OpenGov so that we can keep this moving. So deadlines are good, and she sets them to keep us moving. Much appreciated.
Good. All right.
So anything else on that?
Any other questions for Jason? If not, nope, good. Thank you.
Okay. Next
Thanks,
item, just more of an informational thing. Council salaries, and I think as everybody remembers, Councilmember Thorson is going to waive his salary for the upcoming year, and that was adopted as part of our budget process. We've had some, I guess, housekeeping to do with this because of how we do it. We were told that we couldn't do it because of ordinance, and we didn't find the ordinance, and long story short, went back and found an ordinance back in the records from 20 years ago. So council pay was set 20 years ago and was adopted at that time, and there was a note on it for some reason back then that it not be codified with our normal ordinances. Moving forward, I think the recommendation from our legal staff now is that this, with any other ordinance, should be codified with our ordinances. So at some point moving forward, I think that'll be another discussion to look at updating ordinances and getting them all codified. Another change that's taken place within the past 2 years is that ordinances that the council adopt need to be posted on our website for 10 days prior to council action. That hasn't been past practice either. So what this is information just so you can see, and if there's any questions on it, there's a proposed resolution that I have here. You can see that. And we've created a site on our city website for proposed ordinances. And so we will post those ordinances there for 10 days prior to council action. So this ordinance that we're looking at here this evening is posted on our city website to meet that requirement. And then this would move forward for council action on our first meeting in February. But at this workshop, it's just information this evening.
Do they have to be published in the paper then, or no? Just on?
No,
the
does not have to be published in the paper, just on the city website.
Okay, good. All right.
So with that, this really cleans things up. And so that we can do things, following ordinance, following the guidelines. So it's just a process that we're going through. If there's any questions, I wanted to be able to have the opportunity here, but that's the timeline for it. It'll be posted. It's on there now. And then this will come forward at the February 1st meeting for council action.
Okay, any questions on that for Scott?
Yeah, if I could just provide a little context or comment on this, I'll be brief. I mean, I'm not going to get into the whole details just out of respect to time, but essentially when this first got brought up in our budget workshops, I believe it was back in August, the intent was, and I'm repeating this because I want this to be reflected in the minutes to avoid any future confusion. We were looking at some significant budget shortfalls, and a part of that was to make some staff reductions. And in an attempt to help us balance the budget, I said I will forego my pay, and that net amount is roughly $5,800 after payroll taxes, and that's reflected in the budget documents that was approved. And I had encouraged the rest of the council and the mayor to do it as well, but it certainly wasn't meant to be an insulting thing or anything like that. It was more of, if everyone did it, a $5,800 savings turns into roughly, $40,000 to $50,000 savings. And I believe that a 1% levy increase is at or around $50,000, give or take. So, and obviously it's an individual decision, and no one else wanted to do that, which is fine. And no one else had issue with it. But there was a question that was asked about, well, we don't know if you can do that, which to me doesn't pass the smell test and seemed odd. And I welcomed the state statute or city ordinance that stated such, and that was never provided because, it obviously didn't exist, or at least that's what I thought. And we approved the preliminary budget and there was no discussion on it. We approved the final budget in December, and both budgets, it stated that in there. So for this to all of a sudden come up and say, well, you can't do it, that's why I was raising issue with it. And I'm glad now that it's clarified that the state statute section 415.11 says it right in the first paragraph, first sentence, set by ordinance. I went and looked on our city ordinance. There was nothing listed online. Now we know why there wasn't. It was an oversight. We do have an ordinance that states the pay, and part of that ability for us, if you give yourself a raise, you have to wait till the next election. You can temporarily reduce your pay without having to wait till the next election, but it takes council action, a vote. And outside of us taking separate vote, that's done in the budget. So this was already done and dealt with. So that's why I was confused on why we need to do it again, but thanks for the explanation. And so the answer to the question, can you as a council member refuse your pay? The answer is yes. And you must do it by enacting an ordinance stating such. And that's what we're going to do. It sounds like the first meeting in February.
Correct.
Okay. So just to clarify, sorry, it was a little long-winded, but just so it's reflected in the minutes and everything, so there's no confusion over this in the future moving forward.
Sure.
Yep.
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate it.
Just quick information for our council, I think, yeah. So the last one, this was updated, was passed, I believe it was October 17th of 2000 is when that ordinance was passed, and then become effective January 1st of 2001. Because again, it has to be prior to the outcome of that election. to make a change. But so it's been in place for 20 years. That's just want to give you the background on it.
Great. And also just real quick to point out on this ordinance that's attached in our agenda, again, my name's spelled wrong.
What?
THORSE-1. No big deal. Just fix it by the time we vote on it.
That'll be done.
Yep.
All right, City Manager Dudek, looks like you got one more topic here.
Operational updates. Couple things. This evening, there was an item added to us late afternoon, just so that you're aware of it. If you downloaded the packet or anything early, there was an item that was added last minute to the council agenda. And that's as we're coming near to the closing on the Anchorview apartment project. At this point, we have we're planning of our closing on Wednesday next week on the 27th. So we're working aggressively on all these closing documents. And one of the things that came up this afternoon was a subrogation agreement, subordination agreement with the banking and the mortgaging on it. So that came in this afternoon. So that was added to the council agenda for your approval. That's what was added this evening. So just so you're aware of that. And I'm sure there's been
That's kind of the norm now, Scott, is,
It is. Well, I can tell you the one closing that we had for the Uptown Commons project, instead of it being one day, it went on for a week. It was a
Right.
week on closing of technicalities and documents and things going on. So these large projects have a lot of nuances with them, with the financing and everything that goes along with it, and projects of this scope and magnitude. So again, this is a $23 million project down there for financing and everything else associated with it. So it's a large scale, but things are moving along well. I would anticipate, just based on past practice or past experience, that there could be something else that come up along the way. But we're definitely on the home stretch and planning on a closing on Wednesday, the 27th. So update on that. The other thing, wanted to get council's input on.
Hold on a second before you move on, Scott. Sorry to interrupt.
yeah,
ahead.
Along this subject of these changes, and I get it, this stuff happens and it seems like it's more frequent that we get these last minute changes, but that's the nature of the times we live in right now. But I was wondering if, for my sanity and maybe everyone else's following along, if there is a change, is there some way we can be notified of what changed? If it's, something highlighted at the top of the new thing
Yeah.
saying,
that's a good
because
idea.
it's
Yes.
impossible. You have to basically have multiple monitors or print them both out and start flipping through to find out, well, what changed, So we get an email saying, hey, there's been an update. And then you go and click on the website and say, okay, well, now the workshop agenda went from 7 pages to 10. Maybe that's easy to find. But in this case, regular council meeting went from 95 pages to, I believe it's 105, and trying to find out, well, what actually changed sometimes isn't always easy.
Yes.
But I mean, if
Yep.
that's something that isn't too much trouble to do, I think it'd be helpful for everyone.
Yeah, and if I could, let's, along that subject, bring Carrie back on. Carrie, if you have a minute, let's just talk a little bit about the other program that we're working on implementation for. And it's another layer, if you will, of our Civic Plus, which this is for agendas, and I'll let Carrie talk about it.
Yeah, it's a product, it's called Civic Clerk. And what it does, it's a meeting management software that integrates with our website. And it's got some really great functionality for, especially some of the things we've been talking a lot about, like the pre-planning, so that agenda items can be moved around and pre-planned and planned ahead. So if we know there's something coming up and we want to do something in March, as staff, those things can start be developed and put on the back end. And then city manager and deputy clerk can, so staff can submit items for agendas, and city manager, the deputy clerk can approve those to put the agendas together. With that, this tool has some great features for council. I think you'll really like it. There's a place for you to go and make your own notes on there. So like if you really, you go through the packet in advance and you want to call out some things, you can go in and you can annotate it with your own notes. It'll be totally searchable. So if you want to go like, what meeting did we talk about that? It'll be a nice search index. It'll help integrate with our recording so residents can go back to the part of the meeting to see where something happened. I'm really excited about it. In the short amount of time that I've been here, I can see how helpful it will be for us for planning and keeping track of different things and doing a better job of getting our packets as complete as we can. And, as far as city staff, helping you by being more planful. I'm hoping we signed the contract the end of the year. We should get access to our build team here in the next week or so. And my hope is that as we launch this, we'll reach out to our vendor and we'll do a webinar training because especially for councils and commissions, there's many parts of this product I think you're really going to like that will help you as an elected representative, be more planful and to know your changes and your questions that you have in the documents. So I think you'll be pleased with it.
Great. And that's included in everything that we get with this OpenGov software?
No,
This
this is
part of
tied to our website. This is a sister company of the product that runs our website. So Civic Plus runs our website. Civic Rec is another sister company that runs our Park and Rec online reservations. And Civic Clerk is the agenda meeting management software that integrates with our website as well. And I know City Manager Dudek reached out to some cities that use it and they say they can't function without it. So we'll be there soon too.
It's, and Scott, to your point, the PDFs and trying to follow the PDFs within our packets and the packets that are, 180 pages long, this will basically give you a couple page agenda and with hyperlinks hyperlinks underneath the subject. You click on that, it opens up all the supporting documents there. You're not scrolling through 180 pages and trying to get back and forth to follow things. It's just one of many, but yeah, it's a definite improvement you'll see.
Scott,
We
is there a
even
way,
do online voting.
Scott, is there a way that even, these changes come in the last minute, through an
Yeah.
email? Is there a way to contact us, either phone or, message? Because sometimes I don't see it.
Certainly, and we'll highlight what they are. I mean, I'm hoping they're becoming far few between and coming to an end as we get working on implementing this new one, but absolutely, we definitely will.
Good.
What is the timeline for full implementation for the Civic Clerk?
We're waiting. The contract is signed. We're waiting for the project manager. She was out of the office until yesterday. So if I don't hear something by the end of the week, I will be chasing them. It's probably about a 6 to 8 week implementation time for us to transition what we have. That's what they've told us. Although, hopefully we, every deadline they've given us for other products we've beat. So, until I can really get at the back end and see how it's structured, they're telling us 6 to 8 weeks. I'm hoping we can push it to 4.
I like your timeline.
Anything we
your-
can do to keep you happy, Mr. Mayor.
I like your enthusiasm.
So that's one. Then the other issue or item I want to look at is looking at reopening City Hall on Monday, February 1st. And then also correlating the same thing with council meetings, but I want to gauge council and your comfort levels. I guess the proposal would be as we would go back to council meetings in building as we did previously with the socially distance going on there. So we've got council spread out throughout the council, and then just allowing audience limited to, I think we had about 10, maybe about 10 people to be able to maintain the social distancing within. We would obviously still be maintaining the Zoom. So if council members wanted to do it via Zoom remotely, that would still be available, but otherwise we could be here back in building. Starting February 1st, City Hall would be open to the public, and then council meetings could resume in building on February 2nd.
Okay, yep, I'm okay with that. Any other council member, any concerns or,
Yeah, I'm okay with it. Oakdale's gonna be open then too, so.
well, we're gonna be open before they are.
No, I thought it was the same time. Come on, he's your buddy over there. Okay.
Sounds good to me.
So. Good.
Okay. So that's plenty on that. Then the other item would be, retreat
Councilmember Wong, Councilmember Wong,
Yeah, I guess, my question is under, what circumstances are we opening or closing?
my guess it's the governor's, he's opening it up a little bit more. So we're able to do more. City Manager Dudek, would you agree
well,
with it? or-
yeah, I think it's kind of in tune, we closed down when the March event and all that happened, we had closed down. And then we reopened this summer when everything else was, at that phase where there was a percentage of staffing and things in other businesses. And then we reclosed, I believe it was November 20th, when we had those spikes of, over 8,000 cases a day going on. We had reclosed at that point. And there's just been a continued effort to try to get things reopened as available. And I'll say that even when we were open, we're still offering all the services that we have been when we're closed, and residents are becoming very accustomed to that. But there is on occasion that, customers, residents want to come into City Hall for this, that, or the other thing. So maintaining the distancing and the things that we have in here, staff has been comfortable with it. If we have any staff that is uncomfortable and we have the ability for them to be able to work from home, if their job, fits that, we're able to do that also. But for the most part, it worked well previously, and I think we're on task to do that again. And I hope we continue in that downward trend of our numbers and things. But I also know that there's been a lot of other companies out there that are remaining closed because they don't want to have that yo-yo effect per se of opening and closing and opening and closing. And I guess on our scale, we're small enough that we don't have the large cost of implementation of if we do end up closing, because for the most part, all staff is working in the building. There's only 2 people working remotely. I guess I'll call it 1.5. One that's working remotely and the other one that's working a couple of days at home, and then the remainder of the day is in office here. So for us, we're easy to be flexible to reopen, and should things change, we can move with the flow of things.
Okay, Councilmember Wong.
Yeah, can I, so I feel comfortable, if the case positivity rate is below 5%, I'm okay with coming in, which it is at this point. So just to
Okay,
give
great.
you,
So I'm assuming, Scott, we'll be able to do that hybrid.
Correct.
So any council member who's not comfortable will be able to be on Zoom. And I think with the new technology we have now, or the new, with Comcast, I believe we're able to do more than we did before.
Well, it's not Comcast. Again,
I'm sorry, not
Yeah.
Comcast.
yeah, it's with our casting that we have now, but we're on YouTube. We've got all that, but yes, all this will be in play. And I think long-term, YouTube is here, but also Zoom. I see Zoom being here long-term and potentially a permanent solution that will be here for residents to be able to partake in. That's seemingly what's happening out there. You're having these dual roles. People can either come in person or they can come via Zoom. But as we at least get started again, it will be that. It will be a dual role and both functioning. And yeah, we're working with the new group to really get all those problems that we experienced before out and make sure that it's a streamlined, clear operation.
Yeah, good. All right. Any other updates?
So that one more will be for thought, unless you want to set something tonight, we can bring it back to the council meeting. But we were talking about a council retreat. And so I was wondering if we would want to set that and doing it on an off council meeting night and potentially looking at February 9th would be the second Tuesday of the month, if that would work for people.
I was thinking either on a off-council night or even a Saturday morning, like 8 to noon. Because I think it could go a little bit longer than normal, and you know, if we did a Saturday morning, I don't know what we've done in the past, a Saturday morning. And I want to end it at noon. I don't want to go, you know, much later in the day. You know, if we do 8 to noon or 9 to noon, 3 hours. I just think,
Yeah, it would be the same thing if a weekend's better for people, or if it was a, you know, a 5 to 8, you know, evening. I didn't know if you want to keep your Tuesdays or whatever works for council is fine.
any council members, any input? I'm okay with the Saturday morning.
I'm comfortable Saturdays.
Yeah, that works for the worker bees left on the council, so.
Although I do have 2 Saturday conflicts, but
So
Okay.
then,
I've-
while we're,
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I would say
Councilmember Torres,
I would prefer to meet during the week, because I'm working Saturdays now too, but whatever. I mean, whatever works for everyone else. I'll make it work.
Councilmember Wong,
I'm flexible. I have no preference.
no preference.
is there any concern with the meeting times on the workshops that we're doing? You know, like right now, we're starting at 5 PM. Is there any concern with that? That's too early? Any issues with that? So I guess they're just throwing out the options that if we kept it during the week and did the same thing, like a 5 to 8 or a 5 to whatever time for finishing in an off meeting night, or if we did as the mayor's proposing, if we did a Saturday, you know, from 9 to noon or something. So if we did that 9th, otherwise, if we looked at something, you know, near that same time, Tuesday, February 9th, or otherwise, it would be Saturday, the 13th. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong one. It'd be
No.
the,
13th.
yeah, the 13th. If there's any preferences there.
so I have a conflict with the 13th and the 20th for Saturdays. I'm not available, but if we want to go the 6th, I'm fine with that, or the off Tuesday is fine as well.
So the off Tuesday would be the 9th or the 23rd. We have EDA on the 9th. And that goes till 5.
That's an hour, yeah, yeah, close to 5 o'clock, yeah.
It's a long day.
Could be a long day.
Yeah.
Yeah, so either
So if we did the
potentially looking at the
23rd. We do February 23rd, start at 5.
That's good for me.
Would that work?
Works for me.
Yeah, works for me.
Let's do
Okay.
let's do the 23rd at 5. Tim, you're bringing the beer. Lisa, you're bringing the wine. Scott, you got the chips.
I used to know a guy, Mayor, that could get beer.
Yeah, well,
Maybe-
not anymore. He can bring some money from Premier Bank, maybe.
Yeah,
I have a question, Scott.
Go ahead.
Scott Dudek.
Go ahead.
Were you talking about doing pictures on the 2nd?
Yeah,
or
thank
no?
you. That's the next, yeah, thank you. That's the next thing to bring up.
See,
is,
I'm
yeah,
your
if we're gonna-
assistant. I'm your personal assistant. Okay.
You're doing great.
so
That is the next item, council pictures, to update our council pictures. And if we are in fact back in for that first meeting on February 2nd, we would confirm and do council pictures that evening also.
so if Lisa, I don't know if you're comfortable coming in yet, or would you be?
Yeah, since the case positivity rate is below 5%, I'm okay coming in.
Okay, so the 2nd, we should be okay to have everybody there, everybody in suits and dresses and ties and best. No, I'm just kidding. You can wear whatever you want, but
What time are we talking, Scott?
5 o'clock.
Okay.
I guess we'll look and see, I gotta look forward and see what we have on what we'll have on that workshop agenda. But we'll just plan accordingly that we've got time. So if you plan 5 o'clock for pictures, and then we would go into the workshop to follow that, but we'll plan workshop accordingly so that there's time for pictures.
Okay, and typically it is a little dressier than normal, so just let you know. So we got February 2nd, pictures, February 23rd, the retreat, 5 till question mark. I'd like to get out of there, 8:30. But I won't put an end time on it right now. See how discussion goes. All right,
Well, I think you have to have an end time,
so we can do
Just-
5 to 9 and.
Why don't we,
finish early.
I was gonna say, why don't we just say 5 to 9 with plan? I mean, because we can always end a meeting early,
Yeah.
but we can't say the meeting's gonna go from 5 to 8 and then go beyond 8 o'clock,
So we'll go 5 to 9 on February 23rd. Okay. City manager, any other updates?
I can go through updates at the council, unless anybody has any questions or anything else during the workshop here.
Any other questions for city manager? We're good?
Otherwise, we'll give a little break between we coming on to the council meeting. Again, remember that we have the different link for that, but that link will stay in place throughout the year. It'll be the same link for council and workshops. And we've established links for all the meetings, planning commission, park and rec, all those meetings will be established and will be consistent throughout the year for those different commission meetings.
And we have an HRA meeting right after the meeting. They'll be on the same general meeting link, so.
Correct.
Sounds good. And the HR meeting should be, it's only one agenda item, so it should be quick.
That's right.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you.
Councilmember Cole?
I have one quick question. In opening the meetings back up, effective first meeting in February 2nd.
Yep.
General public, was that controlled last time when you went to a different seating structure? Did you limit the number of people that were allowed to attend?
Yeah, we did. We have the seating availability and we'll make sure that we publicize that to what the availabilities of that are. But we didn't exceed that last time when we were open. We never had near the
Perfect.
capacity of what we had there.
Okay,
And I think the plan was that if there were more people that showed up than what the chambers was set up to hold, that they could go sit in either the conference room or the training room, because those TVs can be turned on and they can watch there. And then if they wanted to come and speak during the open meeting, they could come in and do it that way, I think was what we had planned, but that never happened because I don't
Okay.
think more than 2 people ever showed up.
right,
Right. And that would be the first overflow would be the conference room up there with that large monitor in, because that one has a direct connection from the monitor to the council chamber. So that one has a direct feed. So that would be the first overflow room. And then, as Councilmember Thorson said, then the secondary would be going to the training room.
all right. All right, anything else? Not to motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Cole. Second
Second.
by Councilmember Peterson. All those in favor signify by saying aye, opposed nay. Jenny, if you take the roll.
Councilmember Thorson,
I
Councilmember Peterson,
I,
Councilmember Cole,
Aye.
Councilmember Wong,
Bye.
Mayor Furlong.
Aye. Meeting adjourned. We'll see you in about 15, 20 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.